Ovid, I believe, is the very first company to actually be in a phase 3 trial. Phase 3, as you might know, is the very last stage of clinical development. And that means that work has been done prior that gives some confidence that when you do this pivotal study, we would get results that could then lead us into a submission and an approval. So currently we are in a phase 3 study, and we were fortunate that with one phase 3 study, we should be able to get an approval if that phase 3 study is positive and if the data are convincing enough to the regulators. That's a clinical global impression of improvement. And this is really a tool that's been used quite a bit in other diseases before, but typically it's used not as the main endpoint, but for us with Ovid, we are using this as the primary endpoint. That means it's the main endpoint. Now, this particular tool is assessed by a clinician. And in our clinical trials, what we have done is that we have standardized it and actually enhanced it so that it applies more to Angelman's. So that's why our primary endpoint is not just the CGI, but the CGI-IAS. That's clinical global impression of improvement for Angelman syndrome. What we have done is that we went out and did a survey and also did other studies to look at what were the key domains that were considered of most burdensome to Angelman caregivers. And then based on those, then we added to, which is a global impression of severity, where we pick the domains that are most significant to caregivers. And we picked certain domains from that, and then when the patients come into our study at baseline, we evaluate them, their severity, based on what we've already identified to be most burdensome for these patients. And then